Hi guys, nice to meet you. Finally in person, an event in person. I'm Dimitris, working for Peanut. I'm leading all things around SEO and ASO. I'm the co-author of Mastering House SEO second edition and soon the third one. I've been working for Revolut. I'm also a speaker, a judge and a growth mentor. And I have more than 8 years of experience in the whole spectrum of digital marketing. Today I'm going to present you a strategy about making a kind of simple strategy, but it's no-brainer, but it helped me a lot through my career, like the past 2 years, on how you can make your Google Play experience more flexible and fast. And sometimes you're stuck with a never-ending experiment, and how you can just use this simple strategy to make things faster and at the end have a better conversion rate. So let's see how it's going to work. You'll know how to set up a Google Play experiment, I guess. Yeah. Let's see quickly how it works. Log in here, your store listing experiments. You hit create an experiment. You're setting up, you're choosing the main store listing or other store listings, or whether there is a localized experiment. You choose the variant you want to test for. You add them. Then you choose the percentage. And we have finally an experiment. So some things to know. You need to test everything. You should definitely localize your app store as much as you can. This will definitely lead to better conversion rates. And also, never settle. Don't feel comfortable when you have a nice conversion rate, a nice finish on an experiment. Make sure that you test everything constantly, so you keep growing, since also there's competition. Is there a pain point? Yes. Things are not that easy as may sound. And let's see what's the problem. There are some experiments that are never ending, the results are controversial, and sometimes we have pressure for the upper management to take some decisions, like either a new feature launch and all this stuff. And because we don't have clear results, we sometimes take not the best decision. We're just assuming that, okay, yeah, I'll make this assumption, and yeah, this has slightly better conversion rate, so let's go with the variant 2. It's not good, because every decision you need to take should be quantified, but we have a solution. So, first step, of course, start running your experiment. Normally it takes 7 to 10 days, including the weekends, to see some early signs, some signs on whether your hypothesis is working or not. Make sure you should include the weekends, so you have accurate data for the whole spectrum of the weekdays. Some mistakes people make is like they're not including the whole week, and from my experience, user behavior is completely different during the weekdays and the weekends. So make sure you run 7 days to have more accurate data. And of course, not all experiments are never ending. There is a scenario where your hypothesis is right, you have a clear winner, and everything is perfect. So again, we have like 2 different scenarios. The first, like, we have a clear winner, moving to the next experiment, sharing with the C-suite, everyone is happy. The second scenario is like, you don't have a clear winner, and your experiment takes a lot of time. This is not good. So let's see how we will approach and solve this scenario, at least using my strategy. Wait for up to 3 weeks. So give it a bit more time. Normally it's like around 2 weeks. So if I would give it 1 more week. If you have a clear winner, perfect. It took some longer than usual time, but everything worked perfect. If you don't have a clear winner though, I think it's time to analyze the variants that you have tested. So we have a controversial result. We were testing, let's say, 3 variants. And we need to analyze why these results weren't positive. I'm splitting these results into different categories, right? The one category is like no result stands out, so they're super controversial, mostly negative, and then you need to revisit the whole hypothesis, the whole testing assets, so you need to start kind of with a new approach. The second category, though, is like there is a variant out of the 3 or out of the 2 you are testing that stand out. So it wasn't a clear winner, but it showed some positive signs. So we pick up this variant and we try to expand this test specifically for it. You have to test, but actually what do you have to test? First, as I said before, although the variant wasn't a clear winner, it showed some positive signs of improving the conversion rate. It wasn't a super clear, yes, but still it showed some very positive signs. So depending on the type of the variant, either it's a screen test, a short description test, or a full description test, you should come up with ideas of making small changes. This is important, not make full changes, big changes that would lead to kind of a new hypothesis, but add some small edits on the existing variant that showed some positive signs. So for the category 1, we see like there's a screen test. So try edit the color, the background color, the wording, or the images, not all the big images, but small signs of it. For the short description, I would recommend changing the keyword placement, the overall placement, something that is like more close to the beginning could be moved to the end, and vice versa. And emojis, if you use emojis, you can switch. If you don't, you can add. For the full description, this is something that this asset gives us more flexibility. You can test keyword placements, specific places and parts of the text. You can change headings. You can add actually headings. So you can have a complete different structure of the text. You can add HTML, so making bold, adding lists, removing lists, changing the list to numbered. These small changes that may probably at the first thought seem like irrelevant, but trust me, they do make a difference. So let's recap what we said. Let the experiment run for around 2 to 3 weeks. There's a possibility, I mean, a lot of you have run experiments and you have faced it, to have a controversial result. So it's not a definitely no, but it's not a definitely yes as well. So don't panic. Find the variant that stands out, if there's any. Try to dive deep into this and analyze it. Try to think and implement small changes, not big changes that will completely change the approach, but small changes. And start a new experiment based on, let's say, the sub-variants of the previous variant. Probably you want an example to see whether this actually works, or I'm not saying bullshit. So I'm going to share with you 2 examples, like one from a full description and the second from a screen test. We have run it at Peanut, and we saw that it was an experiment that was never ending. It took it so long, and applying this strategy resulted to very clear winner and a big uplift on the conversion rate. So originally we tested 3 variants. We had no clear winner. We picked the full description that showed some potential, some positive signs on improving the conversion rate. We analyzed it, and then we tried to make small edits. Then, as said before, we created 3 sub-variants of the variant. Like, just to give you an example of how I approach this subvariants. For the first subvariant, I replaced the first paragraph with the second and vice versa. For the second variant, we transformed a paragraph in the middle to list with emojis. And for the third variant, we replaced the emojis with bullets and made some headings bold. So these are the results. You can see that we saw the test 2 actually result to really great final outcomes, very positive. And imagine that at the beginning we were seeing numbers like that, or even like -8 to +7, something like that. Very controversial, wasn't very clear on what to do. The second example is a screens experiment. Again, completely the same methodology like we originally tested 3 variants. There was no clear winner. We picked the set of screens that showed some potential. We analyzed it and tried to make small edits, and then we created 3 subvariants. First subvariants, we changed half of the color of the screenshot, of the first 2 screenshots actually. Second subvariant, we removed some text, we kept it more clear. And for the third, we replaced the main text with a new one, the main heading. Again, here are the results. As you can see, again, I don't know, it's like test 2 again, but still, it really worked. It produced great results, and it made our life easier because this specific example, an experiment was for taking the decision for a new feature launch. So we had to kind of test it before the official launch, and we had like 4 to 5 weeks. So not a huge period of time, considering that the first experiment took like 2.5 weeks before actually stopped and not applying any winner. So some takeaways. Some experiments are never ending. You should be smart and flexible. Don't panic. Third, find the key variant that stands out. This should be a variant that is not performing as a clear winner, but it shows some potential comparing to the other 1 or 2. Think of small changes that you can implement. Don't try to revisit the whole hypothesis, because we're talking about a completely different experience. So there's no point to actually saying that I'm applying these strategies. It's a completely new approach. And then start new experiments focusing on the variants of the variant as told. So, any questions or just yeah.
How do you confirm after the second experiment run that the results you got were reliable?
Well, I mean, I also, after applying the result, I'm taking into consideration like 2 or 3 periods. I'm using the simple moving average of 7 days. So I'm kind of taking the average of installs. So if I see a graph that, has a positive trend, then this change is good. If not, probably it's your case. But in most cases, there is like either a slightly flat to up or like a clear up trend. Yeah.
Let's say you are testing a hypothesis and you saw type. How do you decide to test further to create their variations?
Yeah, that's a nice question. Actually, I had this one recently. So what I did, it's kind of a combination of, you make another hypothesis and you say like, okay, let's try to have, if they're very, very close in terms of the results, I usually take, add one small change to the first variant, add a small change to the second variant, and then I'll try to combine both of them in a third one. So it's kind of, trying to merge these two variants in one and see how it goes. It worked actually, but yeah.
At what stage, sometimes we run a test and the control and the experiment are very, very close together, and the control might win by 2 or 3%. What we generally do is stay with the control because it's been running longer. What kind of percentage should you be looking for before you think it's definitely a positive test?
Normally, I use like anything above 6 to 7% in most cases. But it depends also on the maturity level of the business. Like for both Revolut and Peanut, when I joined, they haven't run an experiment. So at the beginning, where the store listings weren't optimized at all, I was seeing very big increases on the conversion rate. The more I optimized the store listing, I was finding more difficult to see this very, very clear winner, say like, oh, 30% uplift in Poland, for example. It was like 15, 10. Unless we had a complete different sets of screens, for example, a complete rebrand. In this case, there was either a very, very clear winner or a definitely no.
Yeah, so one stage you went through, I think, 9 different tests for screenshots, and we couldn't beat the original, even though it was old. It was just getting so close. And change, but eventually it got an implementation.
Yeah. Is there a question? Because I couldn't hear like.
Oh no.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah. Sometimes.
We weren't too sure when to actually make the change.
Actually, the reason I came up with that is on a situation like you. Like we were launching menopause for Peanut, for example, which was a new life stage for us, and we were kind of testing a lot of assets, and we saw that just like, of course, I haven't run 9 experiments, but I think it was like 4 to 5. And definitely wasn't a clear winner. So I was like, okay, instead of just going to the designer and say like, whoa, change everything, or like to the product team, like wording, let's use another stuff. I was kind of like, okay, let's stick with the ones that showed some potential and try to see whether we can make some change. So yeah. Well, I have to thank you.